My name is Evelyn Brooks, and I was 33 years old when my own mother introduced me to a room full of strangers as her biggest disappointment. It happened during my younger brother's engagement party. More than 200 guests filled the ballroom. Relatives, neighbors, business owners, even a few local politicians. Mom had insisted I come. "Just smile," she'd said. "Make tonight about yourself." I should have known those words were a warning. As I stepped inside, my younger brother Dylan was surrounded by guests, laughing as everyone congratulated him on joining one of the wealthiest families in the state. His fiancée's father owned one of the largest manufacturing companies in the region. Everyone wanted to meet him. Mom spotted me near the entrance. Instead of greeting me, she grabbed my arm and pulled me toward a circle of guests. "Oh, this is Evelyn," she laughed. "My oldest daughter." She paused just long enough for everyone to look at me, then she smiled. "She's our family failure." A few people chuckled awkwardly. Mom kept going. "She quit a corporate job years ago. She just works in some little office. I keep telling her to get a real career like Dylan." The laughter grew louder. I felt every eye in the room settle on me. I could have corrected her. I could have explained instead. I simply smiled because Grandpa had always told me. Never interrupt people while they're revealing who they really are. So I stayed quiet. Dylan smirked. "You still driving that old grey sedan?" I nodded. "It still runs." He laughed. "My fiancé thought you were one of the catering staff." Table burst into laughter. Mom looked pleased. There isn't a successful person in this room who'd trade places with her. I looked around the ballroom, crystal chandeliers, luxury suits, expensive dresses, everyone judging me without knowing a single thing about my life. They saw simple clothes, a modest handbag, no jewelry, no designer labels, exactly what I wanted them to see, because appearances had never impressed Grandpa, only character did. Just then, the ballroom doors opened. The room instantly fell silent. Several executives in tailored navy suits walked inside. Behind them, a tall, silver-haired man entered, escorted by security. The groom's future father-in-law immediately hurried toward him. "Mr. Harrington, we are honored you could make it." The whispers spread through the room. "That's the CEO. Would he come here?" The man politely shook hands with a few guests, then, without warning, he stopped walking, looked directly across the ballroom, straight at me. A warm smile spread across his face. He adjusted his suit, walked past every VIP in the room, and said 5 words that made my mother's smile disappear. "Good evening, ma'am." A moment. I wondered if he had mistaken me for someone else. The CEO walked directly toward me, not toward the bride, not toward my brother, not toward the VIP table, toward me. The room became so quiet I could hear the soft music still playing in the background. He stopped in front of me, smiled warmly, then extended his hand. "It's good to see you again, Ms. Brooks." I shook his hand. "It's good to see you too, Mr. Harrington." My mother frowned. "You know each other, Mr. Harrington?" Turned politely. "I know Ms. Brooks very well." Then he looked back at me. "Been hoping you'd accept my invitation." Whispers exploded around the ballroom. Dylan looked completely confused. "What invitation?" Mr. Harrington answered without taking his eyes off me. "Invitation to become the next executive vice president of Harrington Industries." Silence, absolute silence. My mother's smile disappeared. She laughed nervously. "There must be some mistake. My daughter works in a tiny office." Mr. Harrington raised an eyebrow. "A tiny office," he smiled. "Suppose you could describe it that way." "Office happens to oversee every strategic acquisition our company has completed in the last 3 years." Every face in the room changed. The groom's father blinked. "I'm sorry. You work for Harrington Industries?" I nodded. "Yes, I don't usually talk about work." Mom quickly interrupted. "She told us she was just a project coordinator." I answered calmly. "Never said that, never asked." Mr. Harrington chuckled softly. "Evelyn has a habit of letting her work speak for itself." He reached into his jacket and handed me a sealed envelope. "I wasn't planning to do this tonight. Perhaps tonight is the right night after all." I opened it. Inside was a formal letter on company stationery. The first line made my heart stop. "Effective immediately, you are hereby appointed Executive Vice President of Harrington Industries." The salary printed below was more than my parents had earned in nearly 10 years combined. My hands trembled. "I wasn't expecting this tonight." Mr. Harrington smiled. "You earned it. You've spent 5 years rebuilding divisions everyone else had given up on. You've never taken credit. You've never asked for recognition. Every executive on our board voted unanimously." Then he looked around the ballroom. "Met thousands of professionals. Few have Evelyn's integrity." Room remained frozen. No one laughed anymore. No one whispered. Then Mr. Harrington asked one quiet question that changed the entire evening. He looked at my mother. "May I ask, would anyone call this remarkable woman a family failure?" The color drained from my mother's face. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. No one spoke. The ballroom had gone completely silent. Mr. Harrington calmly turned toward the groom's father. "Mr. Collins, I believe your company and mine have done business before." Mr. Collins smiled nervously. For several years, Mr. Harrington nodded. And do you remember who led the negotiations that saved your company last spring? Mr. Collins frowned. I dealt with someone from corporate. I never met them in person. Mr. Harrington looked at me. That's because she preferred it that way. Then he said the sentence that changed everything. Every agreement that kept Collins Manufacturing out of bankruptcy was personally designed by Ms. Evelyn Brooks. Gasps filled the ballroom. Mr. Collins stared at me. It was you, I nodded quietly. Legal team handled the meetings. I stayed behind the scenes. Mr. Collins shook his head in disbelief. My company would have closed, would have laid off nearly 600 employees. I smiled politely. It wasn't just my work. It was my team's. Mr. Harrington laughed softly. That's exactly why she deserved the promotion. Always shares the credit. Never asks for it. Across the room, my brother's fiancé slowly turned toward Dylan. You told me your sister never accomplished anything. Dylan swallowed hard. I didn't know. She looked disappointed. You never wanted to know. Then Mr. Harrington reached into another folder. I almost forgot. He handed another document to Mr. Collins. Board approved this yesterday. Mr. Collins looked at the first page. His eyes widened. Partnership. It's being renewed. Mr. Harrington smiled. Only under one condition. What condition? He looked at me. Ms. Brooks will personally oversee the project. Room erupted into whispers again. My mother suddenly stepped closer. Evelyn, why didn't you ever tell us? I answered honestly. You never asked how I was doing. You only asked why I wasn't more like Dylan. Her eyes filled with tears. My father lowered his head for the first time all evening. Neither of them had anything left to say just then. Mr. Collins did something no one expected. He walked straight toward me, extended his hand, and spoke loudly enough for every guest to hear. Ms. Brooks, thank you for saving my family business. Then he added one final sentence. I'm embarrassed that tonight is the first time I've had the honor of meeting the woman who made all of this possible. Every guest turned to look at my parents. Their faces had gone completely pale. The people who had laughed only minutes earlier couldn't even look them in the eye. The applause started with one person, then another, within seconds. The entire ballroom was standing, not for my brother, not for the engagement, for me. I looked across the room and saw my mother staring at the floor. The same woman who had called me the family failure less than 20 minutes earlier couldn't meet my eyes anymore. Mr. Harrington leaned toward me. Leave you to your family. Then he smiled. Congratulations, Executive Vice President. As he walked away, dozens of executives stopped to shake my hand. Several business owners introduced themselves. The same guests who had ignored me earlier now wanted to talk. I answered each one politely, without arrogance, without revenge, because Grandpa used to say, class is how you treat people after they've been wrong about you. A few minutes later, my mother slowly approached. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Evelyn, I'm sorry. I looked at her quietly. She wiped away tears. I didn't know. I nodded. That's true. Didn't, not because I hid anything. It's because you never cared enough to ask. She began crying. I thought Dylan needed more encouragement. I thought you were always strong. I smiled sadly. Being strong doesn't mean being invisible. She couldn't answer. Then my father walked over. For the first time in my life, he looked smaller than I remembered. Evelyn, I owe you an apology. I judged you by your salary, your clothes, your old car, never looked at the person you became. I took a slow breath. I spent years hoping you'd be proud of me. Eventually, I learned to become proud of myself. He nodded silently. There was nothing left to defend. Across the ballroom, Dylan finally walked over. I'm sorry. Let Mom's opinion become mine. Kept thinking success meant being louder. You proved it's the opposite. I placed a hand on his shoulder. Hope you become the man you pretended to be tonight. He lowered his eyes. Try. A month later, I officially accepted my new position instead of buying a luxury car. I quietly created a scholarship fund in Grandpa's name for first-generation college students. Mr. Harrington donated the first $1 million 6 months later. My parents invited me to Sunday dinner not because they needed money, not because of my promotion, because they wanted another chance. I accepted the invitation. But this time, not because I needed their approval, only because I had already found peace without it. As dinner ended, my mother looked around the table and softly said, "We spent years calling the wrong child our success." I smiled. No, you had 2 children. One needed applause. Other learned to succeed without it. No one spoke after that. They didn't have to. Sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't exposing the people who underestimated you, it's becoming so successful that the truth introduces you long before you ever have to speak.